Welcome to the Retirement Outsiders Podcast. I'm your host, Steve, and I'm joined by my wife and co-host, Tony. The focus of this podcast is to discuss various retirement topics from an outsider's point of view. In terms of this podcast, an outsider is someone who is not retired, someone who is not a financial advisor, someone who is not a CPA, lawyer, or healthcare advisor. I'm an engineer, and Tony is a teacher. We've been preparing for retirement for several years. We've encountered many different opportunities and obstacles throughout our careers and our paths to retirement. Early on, so much of it was intimidating. Our intent is to make some sense out of all the financial, accounting, estate planning, and healthcare jargon from an outsider's perspective. In addition, we will discuss some of the behavioral aspects that come with not being tied down to a 9-to-5 job. Welcome to the Retirement Outsiders Podcast. Okay, good morning. How are you, Tony?
Great.
Excellent. We've got a fun one today, a special episode regarding our recent trip to France.
I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, it was a great time. We've been there before. We've been to Paris and to Normandy before, but that was number one. That was in 2019, I believe. So it's been 6.5 years or so.
Thanksgiving before COVID.
Yeah. In fact, this is our triumphant return to Europe. First time since December of 2019, we went to Amsterdam.
Right.
So we haven't been back, but that was a great time. Going back to that first trip, like I said, we went to Paris and Normandy, but our Normandy trip was a day trip. We rented a car, drove out there. We probably only spent maybe 2 hours in the Normandy region and came right back. So we didn't really get to see as much as we wanted to, but 2.5, 3 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
It's a long drive. This time we took a train, but we'll cover that a little bit more. But our first trip to Europe in quite a while, and of course this trip was special for a couple different reasons. Maybe the biggest reason is that we went to Normandy over D-Day.
Yes. We
spent 3 days in Normandy, and including D-Day, and it was just great. We'll cover that a little bit later, but so I'm excited to talk about it today.
Yeah. So historically, we spent probably the first 10, 15 years of our marriage wanting to go to Europe. And Steve had gone with his dad and uncle. When he was still in college, they went to London and Germany. And when we talked about going, we made it into this 10 to 14 day excursion. We were going to hit all these places, maybe make it like a once in a lifetime type thing. And it was just overwhelming. And so we spent years going back and forth and talking about it. And finally, in the spring of, actually, it was probably the winter of 2016, Steve said to me, where would you want to go? If you could go one place in Europe, where would you want to go? And I said, Rome. That was an easy answer for me. I'd love to go to Italy. I'd love to go to Rome. And so he said, why don't we try going there over spring break? We'll be there, he said, maybe 4 nights, but let's just see if that's feasible, if that's something we can do. And then maybe we could, make this into like a thing. And I was like, I'm in, let's do it. And we did. So we lived in the Chicago area at the time. So we had O'Hare, which is magic when it comes to travel. So we went, basically, did we stop on the way there? I think we did.
Yeah, we had a layover, I believe, in Frankfurt.
And we kind of stopped doing the layover flights after that. But Steve was also traveling a lot for work, so he had points, and so we were able to bump up things. But anyway, we went to Rome and spent 4 days, 4 nights there, and had an unbelievable time. I mean, we saw all the stuff. And one of the things we learned, and we made many trips since then, and we'll talk about those maybe in another episode, but one of the things we learned is, you can do this in a week. Now, 4 days sounds like, if you're thinking well, I want to go to Europe, and I'm thinking, this sounds like a Florida trip. Well, it's not. You've got to add 2 days. So if you're going to go for 4 nights, understand that you're really looking at 6 days, because it's an 8 to 10 hour flight if you're doing no stops, first of all. Second of all, one of the things we learned, especially for us in the beginning of our travels, is that transportation and getting around can be very intimidating. And that's sort of what stopped us when we planned the big excursion trips from the beginning. And so we've stayed mostly in big cities, Paris, London, Rome, and found hotels central to the places we wanted to go. And that really made things a lot easier because we could walk everywhere we wanted to go. We made sure that everything we wanted to see was either an Uber ride or a walk away. Right?
Yep.
And I think that's really what turned a very intimidating process into something that was doable for our Midwestern mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. So for this trip, as we mentioned, Paris and Normandy. So we went to Paris, spent the first night there, and then 3 nights in Normandy, 2 nights back in Paris, and then back home. So who all went? So Tony and I, obviously, and then 2 of my nephews and their wives, and one of my brothers. So it was a good little family trip. My one nephew was actually in the 82nd Airborne back in his younger years. So he was really jacked up about going to Normandy in particular and seeing a lot of different things, which inspired me to look at things in a lot more detail. So between him and I, we kind of, plotted out the trip somewhat, and then on the fly stopped at a number of different things that we wanted to see. We saw a ton. We could have seen a lot more, but it is what it is. We'll definitely want to go back at some point after this trip. So absolutely.
And we had originally been a little leery of going on D-Day because our nephew has a old Army buddy who works there. He is like a historian for the American Cemetery, and he said, "Don't come on D-Day. If it's busy, it's all the other things." But he really wanted to commemorate it on the day.
Yeah.
And so we all kind of shrugged our shoulders and did it. And I am so glad we vowed to him.
With all due respect to our nephew's buddy, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It really, there was a lot of people, but we never sat in traffic or really got slowed down by anybody, I didn't think. It was a lot more heavily foot trafficked and otherwise in Paris.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yes.
it was no big deal. But so as I mentioned, 6 days, 6 nights, 7 days in France. And before we get started on day 1, we're going to say a lot of words here that are French in nature, and we're going to mispronounce every single one of them.
We are.
Going to do our best to not sound like complete idiots, but...
Steve's going to go with a Midwestern pronunciation. I'm going to go with the 8-year-old trying to sound French.
It's the only kind I have.
Yeah, so I'm going to overdo it, and he's going to way underdo it. And so then go somewhere in the middle, maybe.
Yeah, so day one, when you travel to Europe, obviously jet lag is a big problem, and I've noticed the older we get, it becomes even more of a problem. I think number one on top of that, I was sick on the whole flight, so I think I slept for
congestion, had cold minutes, stuff, thankfully, not the tummy stuff.
Yeah, it was bad. So that first day...
And for those of you who've never flown before to Europe, the best flight, in our opinion, is the overnight flight. You get on the plane sometime in the late evening, late afternoon, early evening, and then you're going to arrive sometime in the late morning, early afternoon.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
So day 1, I plotted out our activities for day 1, knowing that we'd all be jet lagged, and that So what I like to do on a European trip in that situation is go kind of see some easy stuff, things that maybe you just want to look at. You don't even need to
No tickets, no
tickets
lines.
for anything. Now, this time, day one, we stayed in a historic little bohemian village called Montmartre.
Sure.
How's that?
Montmartre
is what it looks like. But
go to Google, look at the translation. There you go.
It's a really cool little area with lots of shops and cafes. There's a town square that it was an easy walk for us from our hotel. There's lots of cool things to see, and it's perfect for getting lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever time you're there.
If you've been to downtown Cincinnati, the little mountain that's in the middle of Cincinnati, it reminds me of that. It's like a hilly thing.
I don't know about all that. The hill, it's high.
Yeah, the hill, and it's kind of, it's just a nifty neighborhoody feel vibe with,
Yeah, and there's a church or basilica up there, Sacré-Cœur, and right around that general area, there's a really nice photo op and viewing of the city. So, like you said, you're I don't know how much higher than the city you are, maybe a couple hundred feet, but it's a pretty cool view of Paris from there. So,
and if stairs are not your thing, you might want to skip that particular spot.
Yeah, or get an Uber or something. But yeah, tons of stairs, really cool staircases in that general area that head down into the main part of the city. But this area is just north of the center of downtown Paris. It's a great spot. I mean, if you're going to Paris, you absolutely have to go to this region, at least for part of a day.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Oh yeah. And it's an hour, 2 hours. Now, if you're shoppy and you want to, there's tons of shops and all sorts of stuff. So you can spend a lot of time there, but you don't have, you could spend an hour there and feel like, okay, we checked the box.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did that. We had dinner or lunch or whatever you want to call it. At that point, you're awake for essentially 20 some hours. So you don't really know what's going on. You're just eating, but that was pretty much day one. I mean, I think we all went to bed fairly early. We
walked by the Moulin Rouge.
Yeah. Saw a couple, just kind of walked and got acclimated to our area. And we had to catch a train pretty 10 o'clock, something like that.
Right.
Early enough in the morning.
And we very smartly, now that I look back on it, we stayed in a Holiday Inn. So we stayed in something that felt relatively comfortable and familiar to us. It wasn't particularly foreign, and you will see when and if you have never been to Europe and you want to go, like bathrooms are different. They are. There's just a different feel. Everything's smaller. The buildings are old, so that you're not going to get spacious unless you have a lot of money to spend.
Yeah, so we erred on the side of comfort for that night number one, knowing that things weren't going to be working as well as they normally do. So day two. So how to get out to Normandy. So I mentioned last time we went, we just rented a car in downtown Paris, which is, it's a joy, believe me. It's fun driving in Paris. It's not for the weak of heart, but yeah. So, with 7 people plus all of our luggage, so we had to take all of our luggage with us. Yeah,
because we were staying in an Airbnb for 3 nights, so everything went.
So I looked for rental cars in Paris, rental vans, and there was nothing there. So we ended up taking a train out to Cannes, I believe is how you pronounce that.
Caen.
Yeah, and rented a van there. We actually got a 9-passenger van that worked out great. So the train ride, roughly 2 hours, I think, on the way there. Pretty comfortable train ride. Everything worked as you would expect. It was pretty easy to get around the train station too. Yes. I don't remember it being difficult.
No.
Finding the right train, and you actually had to. We had seats and stuff on this thing. It was numbered tickets, if you will, not just get on any train you want.
It was cool because it got Steve and I out in the countryside, which we had not really done a whole lot of in our past travels in Europe. So just seeing neighborhoods and things like that where,
train ride was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like I said, we picked up the rental car in Cannes. And then what we did was, you mentioned we had the Airbnb. So between Cannes and the Airbnb is all the beaches where the D-Day invasion happened. So we saw all of them but one on that first day there in Normandy. So we went to Sword Beach first, which is where the English and the French landed in 1944. And then to Juno Beach, followed by Omaha and Utah beaches, which is where the U.S. landed. And then on to our Airbnb in St. Bas-la-Hogue. Is that right?
I think it's more of a hoog, but whatever.
La Hogue? Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the beaches. So Sword Beach, that was the first one, which is always kind of cool, especially seeing, my nephews, my brother, and their wives and that, see it for the first time. It's pretty impressive.
Everyone had been overseas before, but this was everyone except for Steve's and my first trip to France.
Yeah. Well, the first thing we noticed on the way to and at Sword Beach was tons of people in period clothing and period vehicles. There were tons, and we've had to see at least 200 U.S. Army Jeeps from the 1940s. People driving around dressed in 1940s, I didn't see anybody dressed in another country's uniform. It was all people in USA uniforms. It was crazy.
It was great. And honestly, it wasn't great at first. I do want to say, when we first got there that first day and we're looking around, it almost had a cosplay feel to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And my nieces and I were looking, I'm like, how do we feel about this? Does this feel like a joke? Does it feel like, but the longer we were there, the more we realized it was badass.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter where you drove, and we drove, 300 or 400 miles, maybe all around the area, you were constantly passing or getting passed by, these Jeeps driving around, like in the countryside, not just, right on the beaches or in the towns that, had famous battles, but it was really cool.
Some felt more like costumes, and some people really got into it, and you could tell like they had.
There was a couple we met. There was a bunch of GIs in that from bases in England that are current enlisted folks. There was one couple. They were a little bit older. They must be lifers, if you will. They were both dressed in period guard. That was just really cool.
It was like a thing. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. So Sword Beach, as I mentioned, that's the first one. England and France were the two countries that were sent soldiers to that beach on D-Day. Really cool. Next beach we went to was Juno Beach. That was Canada. There was
it's kind of a blur to me right now, honestly.
A little shrine on the beach with a bunch of rocks and Canadian flags and stuff. It was pretty cool. Very cool. Then Omaha Beach. So that's where in part near where the Army Rangers went up the hill at Pointe du Hoc. Really cool.
Oh yeah, and is Omaha the one that has all the that still has all the holes and the bomb drop spots? Yeah. So Omaha is, to me, it's the most visually holy cow. You look at it and you can see the cliffs, you can see the vastness of the beach is we'll put some pictures up. The beach is it's very deep, like and just imagining running it is something else. And I want to do a side note. Not only were the people dressed up, the towns were dressed up. When we would go through little towns or go by houses, it was not unusual. In fact, it was very common to see American flags and Canadian flags and English flags, but mostly American flags and French flags. You saw bunting that was like alternate hanging American and French flags all over the place. Individual homes and little towns, they celebrate D-Day. In Normandy, it is a holiday.
Yeah.
I would say the 4th of July in the United States, very few of us celebrate the Independence Day. I felt that the French celebrate their independence that they got on D-Day.
Yeah, for sure.
It was felt.
It's a lot more direct. The celebration is more direct than our 4th of July celebrations are generally just blowing up stuff.
200 plus years
Yeah.
sooner or closer in past. So you've got people who, had parents and things that were their grandparents. Yeah. All right.
So, we ended the day getting back to the Airbnb. So we stayed in a little, cute little town, I thought. I mean, it ended up being really nice.
Seaside town?
Yeah. We were 100 yards or something like that from the ocean.
From the port. Yeah, there were boats and Yeah,
it was really cool. I think that was we went out to dinner that night, and that was one of the things the French always get hung over their heads is that they're kind of rude and, all that stuff. And I had never seen anything like that on the prior trip, nor this trip up to that point. But I guess we did have a couple of servers at that first night at dinner that were a little bit, they were playing with us a little bit. Let's say it that way.
We'll say it that way. So Steve and I were facing the wall, but our niece and nephew were facing the restaurant. Yeah. We were in like a big long booth thing, and they saw some, we were getting laughed at a little bit. Yeah. So, and I will say this for those of you that are a little antsy about that, if you stay in Paris, you're probably not going to see that kind of thing. They are used to visitors. Paris is the most visited city in the world, so they're used to it. I think in the smaller towns, it's the language is a little more of a barrier. It was not a huge problem. No. There was at least one person in every restaurant, and they would bring over the person that spoke, and it was usually a younger person, somebody who was fresh out of school. Because if you don't use your language, you're not, you guys that have done like 4 years of a foreign language know, you don't use it or you don't keep it if you're not using it regularly. But it wasn't like a huge negative vibe or anything.
No. I wouldn't tell anybody to worry about it.
No,
big deal.
No.
So that was a long day. I mean, we got back to the Airbnb pretty late. We pretty much went out, had dinner, came back and went to bed. So day 3, then we had a pretty long drive. So we kind of went, not really rogue, but we went down to Mount Saint Michel, which is on the west coast. I don't know that area is considered Normandy. I don't believe it is.
I'm looking at the list on day 3. So day 3 looks like we did nothing.
2 things.
We did 2 things, but we did 2 enormous things.
Yeah, Mount Saint Michel. I mean, it's this little island that's basically out in the water, out in the ocean. That the tides are really interesting there. Apparently, they'll go up and down.
Significantly.
Yeah, like close to 70, 80 feet or something like that in a given day. In fact, I was reading a little bit about it.
But you can walk out to it.
Yeah, but that bridge is pretty new. I didn't really, like it's 10, 11 years old, something like that. I can't remember the exact date, but.
We probably should have looked. It's a 16th century.
Oh, no, I think it's way older than that.
But it's super cool.
Yeah, it's
if you're not going to get to any other castle, this is the castle-est thing you're going to see.
It's a castle. It's an old church. It's a church. It's got tons of. It's weird when you see it from area. Yeah, when you see it from afar, or even as you're walking up to it, you don't realize it looks like it's going to be. I don't know how I want to say that, vast or just like there isn't going to be a lot of stuff inside of it. It looks like it's going to be kind of
around a bunch
empty.
of bricks and rocks and
but
stuff.
You go in there, it's like a little town. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, we had lunch there.
You could spend a couple days there. And I guess there are hotels and stuff
and
on that little island.
And there's tours and tour guides, but did we pay to park?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all we had to pay for. We didn't have to pay to get in.
I very comically couldn't figure out the machine, and the little girl, she was probably 20, came over and was a little bit annoyed by the dumb American that couldn't figure out the machine, but we got past it.
I don't think it was a dumb American. I think it was the old man.
The old man, well.
Yeah.
Guilty of both, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I highly recommend heading out that way. It's a bit of a drive, like I said. It's probably a couple hours, maybe. I can't really remember, but
from where we were, it just
yeah.
depends on where you stay. If you're going to do the whole beach trip tour thing.
One of the cool things we saw there, as well as later in the day when we went to the American Cemetery, was we mentioned Jeeps and people dressed up in in uniforms and things. The other thing they were just doing every single day we were there, airplanes flying over with paratroopers jumping out in, World War II era parachutes and gear. I mean, it was so cool.
Yep.
There were some modern planes that were doing it, but there was also a bunch of the C-47s that would have been used on D-Day. And
they sounded amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
It was great. But
yeah, so our airborne nephew was, telling us the name, what kind of plane it was, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, good thing we had him around because I wouldn't have. I'm not as studied on that stuff as he is. So, but like I said, we went to the American Cemetery then, so a little bit of a backtrack, if you will, from the day before we did. And I'm glad we went the day we did because it was just a beautiful day. It was I think the one.
Where's the American Cemetery?
That's near Omaha Beach.
It's near Omaha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was near one of the U.S. beaches, obviously, but I didn't remember which one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but that was if you remember, that was the one completely perfect, beautiful day.
It was gorgeous.
That we had. It was like sunny. It must have been low 70s. The wind was actually not so horrible like some of the other days.
And we got there late in the day, so the cemetery closed or was getting ready to close when we were there. And one of the things, and I think this happened when we were there before, I think at the end of every day they play tabs.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
And so it was powerful, man. Yeah. It was really something.
Yeah, I recommend if you're gonna make a trip over there, you definitely want to stop by the cemetery. I thought one of the interesting things about it, maybe a little bit off topic for what the cemetery is for, but I was amazed as an engineer at the crosses, the white crosses, very famous white crosses for all the folks who passed away.
Are buried there.
Yeah, are buried. They are lined up so perfectly. It's amazing. I don't know how they get them so perfect. It's crazy. You look down the line, you can't see it, any one of them, like even 1 millimeter off. It's unbelievable.
It is. And how many thousands of U.S. service members are buried there?
Don't know.
It is, and I've seen it twice now. And the first time, it astounded me. I did not expect to see that many grave sites, and it did it again. I didn't remember it being that big, that vast. It is so much to see, and you realize how many of those families weren't made after that day.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
And I feel like the French did a very good job of commemorating that.
Yeah,
it's just humbling. It's something I think you have to be there to see and experience. It's not something that's. We'll put up the pictures, especially Steve's right. The lines, how straight. Once he pointed that out, you can't unsee it. How straight everything is and how perfect it is. These are graves that have been in the ground for.
Yeah, I still don't know how they do it. Those crosses must go 10
70
feet into
years,
the ground.
80 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible.
Yep.
But then we headed back to the Airbnb after that. And the next day we went to a town called St. Mary-Glise. That was the first town liberated on D-Day.
Let's take a quick back, and we're not going to talk a lot about food because unfortunately for those of you listening who are foodies, we are not. We had meals and we didn't really get that into it. Steve and I are just not people who go places and look forward to eating the local food. So we're not going to talk about it because I honestly don't even remember.
I had a pretty good hamburger.
Yeah, I don't remember what I ate. I can't. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so St. Mary-Glise. So St. Mary-Glise is, off the beach. It was like I said, the first town liberated on D-Day, liberated by airborne troops. So a really cool little town. There's a very famous church in the middle of the town where on D-Day, there was one paratrooper that landed on top of the church and got hung up, got his parachute hung up, and played dead for a while, and then was eventually found out and captured.
And there's some controversy with this, so we're not going to talk about whether it's true, whether it's not true, or what really happened. Though. But it was. They have like a I guess you call it a statue, or they have a paratrooper hanging on top of the church still with a parachute. It's really cool. I'll put some pictures up. But that town, so we got there pretty early, and that whole town was blocked off. You couldn't park, Festival day.
Yeah, and we didn't really.
And it was
D-Day. We didn't really
right?
realize
That was D-Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, day 3. Yeah, I think so. Really cool. I mean, I'm so glad we got there early because we sort of had the town darn near to ourselves there for a while. And then by the time we left, probably 3-4 hours later, it was just the whole square was full of people.
Yes.
That was probably the one part of the trip where it was really crowded.
Yes.
Where we were at.
But it was good crowded. It was festival crowded. We got fair food. It was really cool. Here's a little fun side note for the ladies in the village. There is a hair salon like right in the center of the village called Hairborn.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty. So I mean, they take their airborne. It's part of their identity, obviously. So the salon name. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, they're really all about the airborne. It's interesting that town is really focused on airborne. Obviously, those are the folks that liberated their town, but there's an airborne museum there, which is just phenomenal.
Oh, it was one of the coolest museums I've ever been to. Like it's just a great museum in terms of, I would say it reminded me of the one at Illinois. What's the name of that?
Cantini. Yeah. I think it's way better than that.
But it's got a lot of similar, like
full size airplanes. So they have a C-47 that you can walk into that's inside a building, and they've got the sounds piped in, basically simulating what you would have been going through if you were one of the guys jumping out of the airplane. That was to me the coolest part was that portion.
It was cool.
Yeah, so St. Mary Église, our Airbnb was supposed to be there. We had one secured, and they canceled it on us, I don't know, a month or two before the trip, so we ended up staying where we did. But I think that would have been, if we could have stayed in that town, that would have made the trip that much better, I think. Because I think at night, we could have walked. That town would have been really, really cool to have stayed in, I think, so. Maybe next time. But there's tons of stuff. So out in the countryside around this town, there's tons of different things to go see.
Just hop outs.
There's a bridge, La Ferry. I'm not sure how you pronounce that.
Pont de la Fière.
Yeah. We drove down, saw that. There was a famous battle for that bridge, essentially. So, back in the day, bridges were pretty important. It's the only way you're going to cross a river or a creek and get all your equipment to where it needs to go to win the war. So there was some cool monuments and statues around that general area. We also went to, there was a church around there in a town down the street that was, it had been used as like a hospital, essentially a battlefield hospital for troops on both sides of the war, which was really, really cool to see. I think that was called Place Tacoa.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
we saw there's so many more places France. We went. I don't remember. I would have to see a picture.
Well, you didn't go in. The girls stayed inside the bus on that one. You guys were done for the day.
We were done for the day.
Yeah, that was really cool, though. I mean, they have stained glass of airborne troops and stuff. And I mean, it was really, really cool, that little church. This church was smaller than most American homes. It was tiny, but it was really, really neat.
Yeah. I mean, we were on day 3 of basically 7 to 7 days.
Yeah.
Leaving. Yeah. It was.
But we saw a ton of cool stuff.
Did.
then the last day we had to catch the train. I think it was around noon, something like that. So we decided, heck, we skipped Gold Beach on the way in. And we decided, well, we need to go see that. We saw all the other ones. So we went and saw Gold Beach, which is where the English stormed that beach on D-Day. And honestly, that was, of all the actual beach towns, that was the coolest.
I wish
we could have spent more time there. We had to, like I said, we had to go catch the train, but that would have been a cool town to stay in also.
I think agree.
Either Gold Beach or St. Mary Église would be the... if I'm to go back, I'm going to make it a priority to stay in one of those two towns, maybe both.
Gold Beach was, I would say, kind of blended. It was a super charming little town, and it was seaside.
Yeah.
So you got, all of it, and there was tons of stuff all over the place. Yeah.
Really, really cool. And so, like I said, we dropped the rental van back off and took the train ride home. On the way back, it was actually longer. I think there was...
we had some stops, I think.
I think there were more stops, and they just had to go slower because of, I think, maybe traffic in the towns. But either way, I mean, we got back, and then again, because we weren't going to be in Paris, I think, as long as some of us wanted to be. So we really had to make sure we saw a ton of stuff. So we did about a 7-mile walk that day when we got back to Paris. So we went and we saw the Eiffel Tower, Arc de Triomphe, however you pronounce that. And we saw where Princess Diana died, and just really pounded a lot of pavement.
My niece can verify this. I'm trying to remember. I think we ended up getting 20,000 plus steps. I feel like every day we were there.
No, I got over 30 at least one day. I think that day.
Yeah. I mean, we were moving. It was definitely a walking trip.
We did take one Uber eventually on the last day that we were in Paris the next day. Other than that, we just pretty much walked.
We hoofed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my brother-in-law, Steve's brother, he Ubered back, but he had a really nasty cold.
He got even sicker than the rest of us at some point. So
yeah.
So then, like I said, last day might have been one of my favorites because in the morning, everyone wanted to go to the Louvre, and Tony and I had already been there. So
let's go back to day 5. Did you mention what we did on day 5? And I just didn't listen?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you just didn't listen.
All right.
I'm used to it.
I know.
Yeah. So, day 6.
Okay. Day 6.
Like I said, everybody had to go to the Louvre because you got to go to the Louvre once. But for us, I'll never need to go again.
No,
I mean,
I would like to go
so
again.
It's so overwhelming. I mean,
it's so much, and we know so little.
Exactly. The only reason I would ever go there again is if I, in my old age, decided I wanted to really study and drill down into some fine details. And if I really wanted to go to see something, I suppose I would do that. But I preferred the sleeping in a little bit and having a little bit longer of a breakfast on that day. Yeah,
we did enjoy that. It was nice, especially on that last day, knowing that the next day we were going to be flying for a very long time.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I were to go back to the Louvre, which I honestly think I would like to do, I would want a tour guide because it's kind of like when we went to the Basilica.
Yeah, maybe.
We had a tour guide showing and pointing and explaining the stories behind a lot of the art that we saw. And I would have not, especially because in the Basilica, there were so many people. You're not going to know what you're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So then after they were done at the Louvre, we all met up at Notre Dame. I actually got to go through that. So last time we went, it had just burned.
Yes.
If you all remember that. And it was interesting when
you couldn't even get close.
No, yeah, you couldn't. We couldn't get within, I don't know, at least a couple hundred yards.
Yeah.
They had it all blocked off. But when you walk in and I noticed looking up in the center, the very highest part of the church, that you could, I mean, they're still working on fixing the damage.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was bare wood up there that had been, obviously recently put up there, but
we got in a great big long line to get into it, and I mean, it was 15, 20 minutes.
It was about 15 minutes. It was as long, the line was as backed up as it could have been through they had you snake in, and it was all the way at the back end. And yeah, it only took 15 minutes to get in. It was no big deal.
And you just walk through. I mean, you're just walking through and you're kind of looking at stuff. And I think there were some tours there, but we didn't tour. Yeah. We just walked through.
No, I mean, we probably didn't do that justice. But again, it's one of those things like if you're not going to be there for 2 or 3 weeks, do you see a bunch of stuff for a little bit of time, or do you see one thing for the appropriate amount of time? And generally what we do is see a bunch of things for limited time.
And there's plenty to see. I mean, there was plenty of photo opportunities. I didn't feel like, oh man, I got to go back and really spend some time there. It was, I'm not Catholic, so I don't really know much about most of the art that was there anyway. So there you go.
So then the next thing we did was we walked over to the cemetery, the famous cemetery. I'm not even gonna. Do you have any clue? I think they.
Yeah, it's the cemetery Père Lachaise.
Père Lachaise. There you go. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we walked there, and on the way there, it's a pretty hefty walk. On the way there,
that was a good walk.
Well, I think I got some kind of random Instagram post that like the oldest 2 standing structures in Paris. They're not far from Notre Dame, so we kind of walked by that just for the heck of it. We'll throw a picture of that up.
Reminded me of Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Those 2 structures, they looked very Amsterdam-esque. I'd be interested to know if that's kind of the deep in the heart of Amsterdam.
Is that the architecture's name is called Amsterdam-esque?
Sure.
I'm sure it has a name.
Not, yeah.
Yeah, we just are not architects. So much like George Costanza, we're not architects. And then we found that, of course, we wanted to see Jim Morrison's grave, but we also found that on the way there was the house or whatever it was. I think it was a house or apartment where he died. So we walked by that, and they actually had a little bit of a there was a sign, a plaque, and it looks like there used to be like a hand crank music wheel thing that was rotted away, broken, so that didn't work. But then we went to we eventually got to the cemetery, and that place is cool.
Probably my favorite overall place that we went to.
Yeah. So there's roads inside this cemetery, plenty wide enough for a car. They're all kind of cobblestoned, but it's a great place to walk. Plenty of places to benches and things to rest. Heavily tree covered. So there's a canopy. So even if it was hot or even
like
rainy,
it is right now there,
you'd be reasonably comfortable. They have public bathrooms, so that would be a cool place to spend half your day and just look at all the famous people. Of course, Jim Morrison's buried there. His grave was the least
Oscar
impressive.
Wilde,
Oscar Wilde's there. It was really neat.
Like there was one gravesite that was covered in lipstick marks, and apparently it was like a French TV star for years, and so that was kind of funny to see. I don't know who that was. And there were new graves, and there were like 300, 400, 500-year-old graves. It was phenomenally cool. That would be a fun, like if you could find like a scavenger hunt thing.
Yeah.
And it was enormous. If you've been to not Notre Dame, if you've been to New Orleans, and you've gone through the famous cemetery in New Orleans, it is the way cool. It's kind of like seeing the Eiffel Tower in Las Vegas
versus the real one. Yeah,
it's the Las Vegas Eiffel Tower in New Orleans compared to the Père Lachaise in France in Paris, because it is phenomenal and way more better kept, and it's cool.
And we should mention the hotel we stayed at. So the last 2 nights there in Paris, we stayed at a place called the Hotel Brittany, which is in the Opera District, a really great sort of central location to stay.
Yes.
In fact, we stayed in that same district, not the same hotel, but the same district last time.
Tell them why you wanted to stay in the Opera District last time, specifically.
I forgot we did. I didn't mention that we saw the Olympia Theater, where Led Zeppelin played in 1970, so I had to see that. Big Zeppelin fan, so.
Every time we go to a European city, we have to go to wherever they played.
Yeah.
So when we were in Stockholm,
Yeah.
they recorded an album at the ABBA studios, right?
It's called Polar Studios at the time, but yeah,
Okay.
it was owned by them.
Okay.
In Through the Outdoor. Yeah.
In Through the Outdoor.
Yeah.
Of course, in London, we had a few sites to go see.
Yeah, we did. Didn't see enough of them, but anyway. No, but the Hotel Brittany was really cool. I mean, it was, we had big windows that opened up out onto the street, and you could see down. I think it was a 5 or 6 story hotel is all. We were on the 3rd floor, I think, and some of our other family were on different floors. But that was a pretty nice place.
It was cool.
They had great breakfast in the morning.
Oh, yeah. The street scene was fun because it was, clearly we were in a hotel, so there were tourists there, but it was a working neighborhood. So it was kind of fun to see, in the mornings you heard people getting up, going to work and yelling and going to the coffee place. And it was cool.
Yeah. So I would say that if you have any kind of interest in World War II history and going to Normandy, definitely plan a trip over D-Day. It is just so cool.
Yes. And book your place early and
early and often, right? Yeah.
Early and often, yeah.
Yeah, in Paris, of all the cities. So where have we been in Europe? We've been to, you mentioned London. We've been to Stockholm, Munich,
Budapest,
Rome.
We've been to Dublin.
Where else have we been? We're forgetting.
We're forgetting something.
Amsterdam a couple times.
So, France and Holland, we've been to twice. Both of those places we've been to twice. Steve's been to Germany
and England a couple. Yeah. For work, I had to go to Munich a couple times, and So, how would you rank? Like, if we're just talking Paris, how would you rank Paris compared to the other towns that we've been to?
I think visually, Paris, London, I love London. But London is humongous, and you need to use their transportation. And it is, it's not as walkable as Paris. I feel like Paris, if you've got a good hotel location, that's a place you don't need to use public transportation if you don't want to, if you want to just do city stuff. And Paris, in my opinion, is probably all in the most beautiful city that I've ever been to. Visually.
Yeah.
I love Amsterdam. I love the look of Amsterdam. I love the how clean it is. Same with Stockholm. But I think the architecture, the buildings in Paris just make me happy. I just like looking at them. And
I agree, walkable. It's extremely walkable. I think Amsterdam is the only city that beats it in terms of walkability.
Amsterdam.
And it beats it only because it's smaller. Like, you can walk anywhere in Amsterdam.
Oh, yeah. We've never had to get transportation.
Paris, depending on where you're at, like I said, we took an Uber the one day just because it was like, okay, no mas, we got to get back to the hotel. So but it is very walkable. There aren't stretches like in London or even Munich where it's just heavily business centric and there's no reason to, you have to walk through it. If you're going to walk, you got to walk through it. And it's like not somewhere you really want to be walking.
I also want to mention when we were in Paris, we got there during a weird, I don't want to call it a cold snap, but it was cool.
Yeah.
We were there.
Rainy, windy.
So we're there in June and it was 60s and 70s. And then the week we came home, it jumped into this huge heat wave. And I think it's still going on.
Now,
That trip would have been a completely different story.
Yeah.
When we were in Paris, like walking 7 miles was a lot of work and it was a lot, but it was 70 degrees.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah. But I would say, France, Paris, the transportation, the public transportation is good. The trains are easy to figure out. We took Ubers back and forth to the hotel this time just because we had 7 people and it was trying to get everybody on a train. We just didn't want to try that, and the Ubers worked just fine. But, very easy to get around. People are nice. I guess there are a couple of people that had a little fun with us in the Normandy area, but otherwise, second trip, I still haven't seen, any kind of concerns when it comes to that.
No. And I've also heard people say that Paris is filthy. I did not see, both times I've been there, I didn't see that. I mean, it's a big city, so you're going to see the occasional full trash can, but I didn't.
No,
and I didn't
think it was bad.
Like, occasionally, that's one thing Steve and I do very well, is that if we have to use the restroom, well, golly, we'll just stop and have an adult beverage. And that way we can use the bathroom, because most big cities, they want you to spend some money if you're going to use their restrooms. Yeah. They're not public.
We obliged.
We are good at that.
Yeah. Okay, I think that wraps up our Paris and Normandy trip.
We'll post some pictures.
Any final thoughts? No?
No.
Yeah. We'll post pictures on we posted a bunch on our social media already. So I think what we'll do, or our personal social media, we'll put some pictures into the YouTube video as well.
Okay.
So, all right. Thank you for joining us today on the Retirement Outsiders podcast. Please remember to rate, like, and subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Thanks again, and we hope you'll join us next time on the Retirement Outsiders.